What's good out there, Liquid Trucking? Welcome into episode 60 of the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I am your host, Marcus. Very happy to have you all with us today. We got a doozy of an episode coming up here, so boys, stay tuned because I'm going to get into that in just a second. First things first, like always, please go and check out our shiny podcast website. You can find it by clicking on the banner at the top of the page that says Learn More, right next to a picture of me. It says the word podcast right there. You can't miss it. Check that out. That's our one-stop shop for everything Liquid Trucking Podcast. All your episodes are there. Information about the guests that we have on and what we're talking about. And it's just like, it's a real cool hub for you guys. And, you know, we share some pictures up there and stuff like that. We put up some Vets Day photos that you guys sent in. And it was just, it's been a really cool thing to have like a place to call home because, you know, I'm here with you guys for an hour and then I go away for a week and then I come back for an hour. I'm like a bad pest control guy. Like I just show up, you know, once a week. Yeah, it's right on time. But hey, where are you at for the other 6 days? Well, I'm over at the podcast website. Once again, liquidtrucking.com. Click the banner at the top of the page. And you can also send me an email there. Always looking forward to hearing what you drivers have to say. As I say it all the time, you guys can feel free to text me if you have my number. If you don't have my number, get in touch with somebody that does. They'll gladly give it to you. I'm totally fine with that. If you don't have my number, go ahead and shoot us an email, podcast@liquidtrucking.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you've got something you want to talk about on the show, you've got a story for us, maybe you've got something that you think would be a good topic. You know, I've still got some of those drive for gold points that I am well within my power to kick down to a driver that gives me a really good podcast topic. So let's chat. Podcast@liquidtrucking.com. Shoot me a line. All right, so what's up with episode 60? Well, this episode is called Drivers Giving Back, as those of you that already clicked it know. And it really is all about drivers giving back. Like from front to back, this episode is going to be about drivers giving back. We are going to be joined a little bit later by Liquid driver Justin Scott, who is very active in giving back to his community in multiple different ways. And he's got some really cool stuff going on, guys. And if you've ever wanted to feel motivated to give back to your community, let this episode be the thing that turns that key for you. Because, man, first of all, I'm going to just dish a little bit on the interview with Justin. I'm going to give away one thing because I want you guys to know this going in. Justin does some phenomenal charitable work with dogs, okay? And you guys know me. I got a gigantic soft spot for dogs. I melt into a puddle when one of my corgis runs out into our driveway. He's not anywhere close to the road. He's not off the property. He's just an inside dog, and I don't think he can survive out there, so I lose my stuff over it, okay? And I have a very special connection to what Justin does to give back to his community, one of the things, and I'll tell you right now, powerful, moving interview coming up with Justin Scott. If you are looking for the motivation on giving back to your community and just kickstarting yourself into that mode, you listen to Justin talk for about 30 minutes and tell me that you don't want to go build houses for the less fortunate right after you get done listening. It's a really good interview. It's coming up just around the corner, so stay tuned for that because, as I said, this whole episode is going to be about drivers giving back, and we needed a Liquid driver, of course, and Justin came through for us there. There are, however, other truck drivers out there that don't drive for Liquid, haven't figured out why yet, don't understand that. I know what this company's like, man, and let me tell you something. If I had a CDL in my pocket, you guys might have your first driver stationed out of Eugene, Oregon, if you'd have me. But for the time being, because I have a little bit of a road rage problem, let's go ahead and stick to podcasting. It's a great company y'all work for. Not all the great drivers do work for it, though. There's some really good people out there that are working for other companies. And as I said, even though I don't understand the logic behind that, I can definitely support them when they're out there doing good things. And this clip I have from you right now comes from KSL in Salt Lake City. And this is a local news story about a truck driver that wanted to help with what's going on in California right now. The devastation. Look, we talk a lot of junk about California on this show. I know we do. They're my next door neighbor to the south, okay? Oregonians have a lot of problems with the flood of Californians that constantly makes its way into our state. But when something like this happens, this wildfire that's burning through LA right now, burning people's homes. People are losing their families. People are lost. Look, it's all hands on deck right now. And this type of situation is where I feel like truckers actually come through better than most. You guys have capabilities that few others have. You know, I can load up the 5'6" bed in my truck full of a ton of donations and take them down to California, and it's going to go effectively nowhere because, you know, I only have a 5'6" bed. So let's listen to this story real quick from KSL down in Salt Lake City about this awesome group of truck drivers.
Local truck driver is gathering donations and then plans to drive them out to Los Angeles all by himself. This specialist Emma Benson has a story here. Emma?
Yeah, that's right. When a call for help comes, Utahns are on the forefront, and it's really cool to see this chain reaction of helping hands that all started with one person looking to make a difference. When Landon Cheatham saw the fires devastating Los Angeles, he knew he wanted to lend a hand.
I made a Facebook post, said, hey, can anybody help? Anybody have some stuff they can donate? And then it started getting shared, and soon my phone was blowing up.
The operations manager takes semis to California 2 to 3 times a week. So he decided to fill up a truckload of donations.
I haven't slept since Wednesday. I've just been calling people and texting people and trying to get this all figured out.
Landon says he was born in California and wants to do his part to help those who have been displaced.
It's for a great cause, so if we can help those people, we'd love to do it.
The giving efforts causing a chain reaction, with other Utahns wanting to help, like Justin Sinclair, a local freight agent who saw Landon's posts on Facebook.
I immediately messaged him, and then it just snowballed overnight.
The hope filled the truck to the brim with donations.
Toys, clothes, diapers, any kind of relief efforts, whatever they feel like donating, we would like to put it on this truck.
The truck will be loaded up this weekend. Then Landon will make the 11-hour drive to L.A.
I'll head out Sunday night, probably 10 to midnight.
Taking the donations directly to local charities there. Landon says Utahns pull together when a need arises.
Everybody here has a good heart. Everybody wants to make a difference. Everybody wants to help.
Well, you can bring donations to Bailey's Logistics in Salt Lake City on Sunday starting at 8 a.m. They're going to have it open until the truck is full. There's also donation drop-off locations throughout the valley. We'll post a list of those on our website, ksltv.com. Live in Salt Lake City, reporting for KSL 5 News, I'm Emma Benson.
Great to see when people come together and help out. I love it. All right. Thank you, Emma.
What a great story. And I mean, how cool. Like, that's one person that decides, you know what, I'm going to do something to help. And they end up with a dry van full of donations. And, there's only so much that any one person can do at any point in time when devastation strikes and thousands upon thousands of people are being affected. And a lot of times I think when you look at this type of stuff, it's like that fire's all the way down in LA. I'm here in Eugene. What could I possibly do? I'll send my $25 to the Red Cross and hope that it finds its way to the pockets of somebody that needs it. But it doesn't feel like doing much. And I know that everybody has a life to live. Everybody's got things going on in their own life. We're all fighting a battle here. But seeing truck drivers give back, of all people, truck drivers, what you guys go through out there every day on the road, the type of job that you do, demanding lots and lots of extra time spent away from your family on the job effectively, maybe not working, but hey, sleeping in a truck, that affects people. And to think that there's truck drivers out there like Justin that we're going to talk to here in a minute, and the guys from the story there from KSL, Landon and Justin as well, just to think that they just were like, hey, I know that I work this job that really puts a lot of pressure on me and I don't get to spend a lot of time with my family, but I'm going to take some of my free time and I'm going to go help others. And I hear a lot of truck drivers that do this type of thing. And it's interesting today. I wanted to get more liquid drivers on the show because I know there's more of them that are very involved in their community and like to do good things, help people that are less fortunate, that type of thing. The one interesting part about it is all of them, including Justin, who was the only one that wanted to come on, and we thank him greatly for that, but all of them do this not for the recognition. They don't do it because they want to tell people that they do it. They do it genuinely because they feel like it's the right thing to do, and it makes them feel good. And there's a little bit, like, some people could call it selfish because it makes you feel good. No. This is the best kind of good that you will ever feel. Yeah, this is like a heart exploding good when you do things like this for people that are going through it. And I know that we didn't get to talk to all of you that give back to your communities today in the liquid trucking ecosystem, but I want to thank you all. And you guys know who I'm talking to out there. If you're listening to this right now and you're having that heart exploding feeling right now, that's because you deserve it. Thank you for giving back to your communities, for giving back to those less fortunate, for being such a phenomenal group of people that it just cares not only about one another, but cares about the community at large, man. It warms my heart to be a part of this company and to be able to do a podcast for you guys, because I know I've got such a great group of people out there working their asses off and doing the right thing, doing the good thing. So, it was evidenced on this podcast when we talked about the 500-year flood that you guys had there in Plattsmouth, and just hearing about the devastation, seeing the pictures and everything, and then listening to the stories about the liquid community literally wrapping its arms around the community and the community wrapping its arms around liquid and everybody rising with that tide. Such a cool story, man. And I know that liquid's capable of kicking out some real community support when it's needed, especially there locally. And I wanted to highlight some of the drivers that do the same thing in their off time. And so we brought on Justin Scott, and he's never come on the show before. This is his first interview, but he does have some experience because what he does has garnered media attention before. So that's how exciting this is. Let's go ahead and shut me up and get to talking to Justin about the awesome charitable and volunteer work that he does in his community.
Welcome to the gold standard of podcasts for the gold standard of drivers. This is the Liquid Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
All right, Liquid Trucking, I'm super excited to have this next driver on with us. His name is Justin Scott, and he's making his first appearance here on the podcast, but I will warn you, he's going to do a really good job because he's got some experience doing interviews like this. Justin, thank you so much for being here today, man. I'm very excited to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, this is an important episode, and you were one of the drivers that reached out to me. Actually, the way you and I first got in touch, a little peek behind the curtain here, I was looking for New Year's resolutions to talk about for last week's episode, and you actually got in touch with me and said, hey, I want to start giving back to my community more, and I want to help those that are less fortunate. And we had already been working on an idea for this episode, which was an episode about drivers that give back. And your timing is impeccable, Justin. And I just want to say thank you for reaching out and letting me know that was kind of a New Year's resolution of yours. I mean, the timing couldn't have been any better, man. We got your own segment for you.
Right, yeah. Well, I've always been excited about community work. When my kids were really small, we started in with it. We wanted to encourage them to always give back and kind of lead them into the direction of giving more than taking out of life. So that's kind of where I was going with the whole thing. And it snowballed into almost 20 years of work now. So
wow, that's incredible, man. Well, how long have you been working for Liquid? Let's start there, and then I want to get into some of the projects that you've taken on.
I came to work for Liquid about 3 years ago now, I think. Fell in love with these guys. I've worked for a few different trucking companies, and I've never been treated as well as I have been here. The guys are all top notch. Everybody in the shop, always want to give them credit because the truck shop and the trailer shop guys work their butts off. Dispatching's great. Planning's great. I absolutely love working for these guys. And now that I'm here, I can't see myself working for anybody else.
That's awesome, man. And falling in love with Liquid Trucking is easy to do because I've got my own little love story with these guys. And, I want to take a minute to kind of expand a little bit on what you just said about the guys from the truck and the trailer shop. We don't get to talk to them on here very often, and it's not because we don't want to. it's because they're doing what Justin just said. They are busting their asses in there to make sure that you guys have good quality equipment that you can rely on. And that's the reason we don't get them, is they're just too busy doing one hell of a job. And so hats off to everybody in the truck and trailer shop. And let's go ahead and throw the wash bays in there too, the tank washes, because I know those guys are in there really working hard as well. And that's one of the things, Justin, I think that makes Liquid such an easy company to fall in love with.
Absolutely, absolutely. The guys in the shop, having equipment that's reliable is one thing. Having equipment that I know when I get pulled over for a DOT inspection that I don't have to worry about, that's a completely different thing. These guys in there, like you said, they're working their asses off. And I'm honestly blown away with the commitment that they have, not only to their job and their profession, but to the company and the employees as well.
Yeah, and listen, drivers that are listening to this right now, I want you to know this. A lot of you guys have my phone number. You can always email me, podcast@liquidtrucking.com. Anytime you want to give the shop a shout-out, and I mean anytime you want to give the guys in the shop or the tank wash, truck, trailer shop, doesn't matter. Anytime you want to give them a shout-out, this show is a place where you can do that, and I would gladly welcome it because I feel like, you know, we've talked about it before, Justin. The truck and trailer shop is kind of the offensive line of Liquid Trucking. It's like the unsung heroes. Without those guys, we don't go anywhere, but they're not the ones doing the interviews after we win the Super Bowl, right?
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
So we'll make tons of room for any kind of accolades you guys want to pour on the shop on this program, so definitely reach out to me. Okay, so you've been with Liquid for 3 years. We know you love the company, but we're here to talk about some of the stuff that happens outside of Liquid, Justin. So talk to me a little bit. You dished to me right before we came on here live that you actually run a foundation. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, my wife and me, we've had a love and an affinity for dachshunds, for wiener dogs. Once we started getting into them, we were trying to find other ways to connect with other people that had them, do get-togethers and stuff like that. So we started a Facebook group years and years ago. And that was really the only intention we had at the time, was just to have a Facebook group. And we started doing what we call sausage walks, sausage parties, all these little get-togethers and fun little things that were just really just intended for us, but turned out to be community events. Mm-hmm. Through meeting other people and learning more and more about the breed is specific to a few health problems.
Yep.
That generally are terrifying for people and very expensive. The short legs cause lots of back issues. Not uncommon for the dogs to just wake up in the morning and be paralyzed in the back end. Most people take their dogs into the vet at that point, and that tells them, you know, hey, your dog's going to need this, or your dog may need surgery. It's going to cost anywhere from $500 to $7,000, blah, blah, blah. And people panic. They're like, well, I don't have that. And I don't know what to do. So they take the option that they can afford, and that's putting their dogs down. We did not want to do that. We didn't want other people to have to do that. My wife had the idea to create a foundation specifically for this, and it's the only one of its kind in the country. We incorporated last year. We've struggled. We've had to reevaluate how we're doing some things, and now we've stepped back and we started moving in another direction. But our main goal is to help the dogs and help their owners, whether it's with physical therapy, whether it's with surgeries, or if they just need a wheelchair, because a lot of the times when the dogs are paralyzed and they don't have any pain, they don't know that they're not paralyzed. They don't know that they're any different than any other dog. So we take them out, one of our top of the line wheelchairs, we fit them into it, we get them going, and before you know it, they're right back to just rocking it around like they just have four legs again. So
that is so cool, Justin. I can't tell you how awesome that is. And I this touches me personally, and it's going to touch somebody else personally that I care greatly for, and that being my mother. I know she will listen to this. And as a child, I actually had 3 wiener dogs growing up, all miniatures. We had Penny when I was real young, and then we had brother and sister Buzz and Daisy as I kind of got through high school. And Buzz's gallbladder exploded onto his liver at one point in time when he was with us. And I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars that my parents spent on that dog. I know that it was a mind-blowing amount of money that they spent on the surgery, but the doctors gave him months to live, and he spent a couple more years with us, as I remember. I know that I'm going to get a call from my mother after this, and she will set all those times correct in my head so I never misspeak about it again, because these guys were very important to us. And I will tell you about a dachshund, man, that dog might have more personality than all the rest of the breeds put together, save for the corgi, because I got a couple of those now, and let me tell you, they got attitudes. But wiener dogs, man, they hold a very special place in my heart, and I almost get choked up talking about them just as such a fond memory in my life. And to hear that you and your wife are out there saving these little guys from early demise, I tell you, you're making me want to cry right now, man. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we fell in love with them when we got our first one. And they are, like you said, the personality on those dogs is incredible. I've owned several breeds throughout my life and my childhood. And once I got a dachshund, I knew that I'd never have another breed again.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're definitely special dogs.
Oh, they are so special. And, I remember the first time I really realized that I had a deeper connection with a dog than what it was just, a thing running around my house as a kid was I don't remember what was going on. I remember I was young and I was bawling my eyes out about something. Probably a girl broke my heart at school or something, that didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But but my little dachshund Penny jumped up in my lap, and she just sat there while I cried and just stared at me. And I'll never forget that moment. I feel like that is a catalyst in how I feel about dogs for the rest of my life. And if you listen to this show at all, you'll know that I would throw a dog off the freeway and gladly take its place and let an 18-wheeler turn me into a pancake as long as that dog got to live a full life. So, man, it's so cool to hear that you're doing that. And I imagine, Justin, the feeling that you get when you see the people's family get to keep their prized dog for longer and they get to enjoy more time with it. I bet your heart is full all the time when you're helping these people.
It absolutely is. We've gotten to the point where we've actually had people reach out to us. We had a lady reach out to us about a year ago. She got a dog, got a dachshund, had it for 2 weeks. Dog was paralyzed. And she tells me, she says, well, somebody gave me your contact information. And I said, absolutely. You got a hold of the right people. We're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of the dog. And she told me at that point, she said, well, that's not really what I'm looking for. I've got an appointment to put the dog down at 8:30 this morning. And she had called me at 7:45 a.m. Oh. Of course, I'm always at work. I'm on the road. And she said, if you can't take the dog, then I'll just go ahead and put it to sleep. And she hung up. And I immediately called her back and I said, now hold your horses. Is there anything I can do to convince you? Because, it's a flip of a coin whether that dog ends up walking again. And she said, yeah, no, I'm just not interested in the work. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to have my wife come pick the dog up. We're going to bring you a release form. You're going to sign it. We're going to take the dog. And that's going to be that. So we took the dog in, started putting her through physical therapy. I think it was about 5 or 6 months. And I was at home one weekend with the family and I look over and here she is at the water bowl, standing up on her back legs.
Wow.
Pretty wobbly, but she was standing. And within the next couple of months, she started trying to walk again and trying to run. But her problem was she was so excited. Her front end was going faster than her back end. So, but we took her to one of our community events that we run. We run the largest dachshund race in Kansas. That takes place every year in October in Wichita at the ICT Blocktoberfest. So we took her with her this last year. wanted to showcase her specifically to the crowd, because we have thousands and thousands of people that come to that event. And we had, I believe, 120 or 125 dogs raced last year.
Wow. That's crazy.
We brought we brought her to showcase her, and after the event was over, we had a nice gentleman, former Marine, comes up, single, lives alone, fell in love with her, wanted to know what it would take to adopt her. And that right there made my heart just melt, because that's what we were trying to do with her. We're trying to showcase that she is still a normal dog, that she is capable of, giving love and receiving it as well. And to see a former United States Marine step forward and say, you know what, she's absolutely beautiful. She's perfect the way she is. I would love to have her as part of my life. When he stepped up and said that, I don't think I have the words to explain the way I really felt, but they're still living together now. Here we are a few months later. What are we, 4 or 5 months later, they've been together. He's absolutely in love with her. He takes her everywhere he goes. He buys outfits for her, and he shows her off all the time. So yeah, we do a number of things, and of course that's always the biggest one. Community events aside, we love to help people in any way that we can, but ultimately we just like helping people smile, giving them a place to where they can be included, to where it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or a Muslim, whether you're white or you're black, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, where you are accepted exactly as you are, and none of that other stuff ever matters or even comes up. So that's really our goal. We've had 2 of our kids that are grown now. They've moved out. The oldest one decided that giving back to his community was important to him, so he enlisted into the United States Marine Corps himself.
Wow.
And we have one daughter that's still at home. Both the older boys are gone, but the daughter is very active in everything that we do as well. And she has now decided, when she goes to college next year, that she wants to be a high school teacher. She wants to give back in another way. So that's really been our goal. It was worth every bit of it, all of the work, all of the sweat, all of the money that we've put into everything, because until we incorporated and really started doing what we were doing, it was just me and my wife spending money out of our pocket every year, dropping $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, whatever it took to continue to give back to the community. So if you're out there, if you want to do something, you don't have to spend money to do it. There's always Big Brother, Big Sister programs. There's programs at your local shelters, at your humane societies, at your local YMCAs that always need coaches to help with kids. So do whatever you can do to give back. It's a good feeling.
Yeah. Fantastic advice there. And you can hear it in your voice, Justin, just how good this feels. In the story about the Marine adopting the little dog that almost didn't make it is as heartwarming as they come. I mean, send that script to Disney, because they'll animate it and turn it into a blockbuster, because it is that heartwarming. And I think it's really cool to see that you told me at the beginning of the interview that you started out giving back to the community when your kids were really young, because you wanted to foster that in them. And now you've got a U.S. Marine, you've got a high school teacher on the way. Mission accomplished, right? I mean, your kids seem like they're following right in the footsteps here, and it seems like they've really gotten involved. How hard was that to sort of build that within them? I was a kid once, and I know that if my dad had asked me to volunteer my time, I would have asked him what the hourly rate was. Like, I was pretty selfish. I wanted to do the things that I wanted to do as a kid. So talk to me about how you worked this into their lives and made it something that they got excited about, Justin.
Well, I wouldn't really say it was a deal we had with them, but my father was extremely active with me as a child. He made sure that I always was able to do the things that I wanted to do, whether it was sports or dirt bikes or whatever it was. So when my boys were, I believe, in the first grade, they came home with a flyer from school for a wrestling program. They wanted to be wrestlers. And it said $50. And I said, well, heck, that's pretty reasonable. So I went and paid the $50 and put them into the wrestling program, only to find out that wrestling is one of the most expensive sports there are for kids. Because you got travel, you've got hotels, you've got tournament fees, you've got shoes and singlets and everything that goes with it, and really a full wrestling season for a kid is about $3,000 to $4,000 per kid.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of travel going into that.
It is a lot of travel, but the kids fell in love with that kind of stuff. The older one, he wrestled for one season and decided it wasn't for him. He ended up being a bowler, being a soccer player. Our middle son, he wrestled all the way through high school, played football, played baseball. That kid was nonstop. One sport would get finished if it didn't overlap the next sport. And he was busy year round. So we gave back to the boys in that way. I think we were lucky with our kids that our kids aren't like a lot of kids. Our kids we raised them in church. We sent them to camp every summer. Our kids were just naturally wanted to give back to us, to anybody in any way that they could. I don't know if it's anything that I actually instilled into them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably more than just dumb luck. And we're 3 for 3 on that. So maybe I should buy a lottery ticket or head to the casino. I don't know. I'm not much of a gambler, but we seem to be pretty lucky in that aspect. And our kids were always, I think they recognized that we were there for them no matter what. So when Dad said, hey, we're doing this weekend, can you help? I think they were like, absolutely. Dad does for us, we'll do for Dad.
Wow.
And they're still that way. My kids know that if they need something, just call. I'm there. I'll help you out in any way, shape, or form that I can. And they're the same with us. When we need something, if we ask, they're always there. And they're loving and they're good kids. So
that's amazing, Justin. And listen, I don't think you should go buy a lottery ticket. You call it dumb luck. You did it 3 times in a row with bang up results, man. You ought to write a how-to book is what you ought to do. Because, it might pay off a little more than that lottery ticket, if you know what I mean. But I love to hear it, and I'm so happy that worked out so well for your family, and just you get to all those good feelings from helping people. You get good feelings from seeing your kids grow up and be good people as well. And yet your New Year's resolution, when I asked you what it was you want to give back more. You want to help more of the less fortunate people in your community. You want to do more. So what's on the docket there? What are we thinking about to complete this New Year's resolution? I didn't know what to expect here, but after talking to you for about 20 minutes, I'm really excited about these plans because you've been very successful in this so far, Justin. So what's on the docket next?
Well, last year we decided to go beyond dogs. We had, and like I said, we do our sausage walks, which are monthly. We have a sausage party every year. We have a weenies and martinis party every year. And these are at local breweries in Wichita. They usually make us our own brew, make us our own barrel. They take good care of us. And then at the end of the year, we have what we call our Docsgiving potluck party.
Mm-hmm.
And last year we had so much leftover food that I couldn't in good conscience throw it away. So me, the wife, the kid, and about a dozen or so volunteers from our group, we put together plates, wrapped them all up. And at that point, my wife and I took them down to the less fortunate. There's a few different homeless camps and areas where these people set up, and we took out and we handed out food. And that sparked our idea to give back to the other part of our community besides the dogs. So last year we did canned food drive, dry food drive, and we also did a winter clothing drive as well as a pet food drive because a lot of the homeless people do have animals.
Mm-hmm.
And they still need love and care as well and need some things. So with us doing that last year, we were really successful. We took in so much stuff that it was literally 4 cars full of clothes, 2.5 carloads of food. It took me coming home, and I go home every other weekend. It took me coming home 4 or 5 trips, I believe, to actually go out and hand all of that stuff out. We didn't do it this year. So that's why I have my New Year's goal. My resolution is to give back even more. We're going to start doing more things for our local community, whether it's the homeless or just the less fortunate, lower income, things like that. We want to start trying to help some of the lower income people with spay and neuters, vaccinations, things like that for their animals. And that's just kind of what we've got in the back there, kind of brainstorming, working on ideas. My wife thinks that I'm too busy between work and that, and then I'm in a car club. I'm spring through fall. I'm at a car show almost every time I go home. So,
Nice.
We do a lot of stuff, but idle hands, devil's work.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. There's no question that that's the truth. And listen, I've been to quite a few car shows. I've shown, back when I was in high school, I used to show my truck at car shows, and almost every car show I've ever been to has had some sort of charitable organization that is attached to it, and they're always working to try to give back to their local communities as well. So I'm sure that even within your car club, while you're out having fun, you're still giving back in an ancillary fashion, because that's what car shows do.
Absolutely. We actually hosted our own car show last year for our foundation. It's called the Great Plains Volkswagen Show.
Very cool.
And we held that in Derby, Kansas. It's a suburb of Wichita. Our first year, we had 64 cars show up for an all Volkswagen show for just a one make show. Yeah. We counted that as a pretty dang big success, and we're going to be doing it again this year as well. So it was such a good success and so much fun. We incorporated the dogs into it. We had a dog photography booth there. We had a dog painting booth where dogs could paint their own portraits for their family members' walls at home.
Oh, that's so cool.
And we incorporated the kids too. We made our car show a family event. We had a kids corner. We had a Lego building competition for the kids.
Just
we
a
had
full
our food
day.
trucks, food trucks. It was a full day.
That's amazing, man. And hey, might I suggest, if you're going to do that again and involve the dogs, maybe a special categories for limos, especially ones that have been slammed on the ground. I'm thinking long and low. It kind of looks like a wiener dog. Have you thought about that?
Well, if anybody comes up to me with a stretched out Volkswagen, we'll definitely throw it in that category for them.
That's awesome. Now, I got to ask you this, because I know there's a lot of drivers out there that just heard that you're a car enthusiast. They heard you're at a one-make show. They want to know what's in the garage. So walk me through that.
Oh, well, we've got a few cars in the garage. We've got a 1970 Volkswagen Beetle, 1972 Volkswagen Beetle. The daughter has a 1969 Volkswagen Beetle.
Wow.
The 72 is my wife's. It's going to paint this spring. We bought that was a husband-wife deal. It's a husband-wife project, but really it's her car. my pride and joy, I've got a 22 Volkswagen GTI that's it's constantly something's being done to it. It's on air ride. It's bagged. It's slammed all the way to the ground usually. It's got a tune on it for a 4-cylinder, 2-liter car. It's putting out 409 horse.
Whoa!
Yeah, so
how do you even keep the doors on that thing, man? Those things are tiny.
It is tiny, and it is fun to drive. Mine's a manual. I'm old school. I grew up with manuals. I wasn't about to get an automatic. It was kind of always my dream car. I've been a Volkswagen guy since I was in high school.
Okay.
And I've always wanted a GTI. I always loved the Golf. And a few years back, they called me up. I'm kind of too close with a bunch of the salesmen and techs at the local dealership. They called me up and said, "Hey, we want to buy your car." And I said, "Well, it's not for sale." They said, what would it take to make it for sale?" And it was a Volkswagen. It was a high-end TDI SEL. It was a premium. There are not a lot of them in the country. And they ended up giving me more than I paid for it. And I had drove that car around for 40,000 miles over the course of a couple of years. And I said, all right, you met requirement 1, requirement 2. You got to have exactly what I want. And they said, what do you want? I said, I want a Mark 8 GTI, black exterior, black interior, and it has to be a manual. And he started laughing and said, dude, I just rolled one off the truck 2 days ago.
Wow.
He's like, come in and check it out. And I said, well, I'm in Atlanta right now, and I won't be home for about a week and a half. I'll send my wife up there to look at it, you know. So wife went up there. She said, you know what? You work really hard. I know you've always wanted one. If you want it, just say the word and we'll get it. So
that's awesome.
That was the deal, yes.
And what a swap, man. Listen, I sold cars for a little bit back at like 2021, 2022, and during that time period, that's all we were doing because nobody was coming in to buy anything because we didn't have any inventory. And so our entire job was cold calling people like yourselves and begging them to sell nice used cars to us for ungodly amounts of money. So you made out like a bandit there, man. Great job. And I love to hear, one thing I will say, your house would have been a nightmare to drive by when I was in high school cruising around in my 72 Chevy with my buddies because all those slug bugs sitting out front, we'd have been beating the hell out of each other, man.
Yeah, well, anytime and I live out in the country, and anytime I do meet a new neighbor anywhere around, and they're like, where do you live? And I tell them, they're like, oh, where all the bugs are at. And I'm like, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I drive by your house, I get a bruise on my arm. I know exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Well, Justin, I really appreciate it. You coming on here talking about what it was in your life that kind of spurred you to start getting into charitable work and volunteering your time, and just hearing about where a love for dachshunds ballooned into this. I mean, I feel like this is almost a lifestyle that you have now where you are constantly giving back to your community and looking for new ways to help out the less fortunate, man. And I'm so happy that you came on here today to talk us through this because I know there's more drivers out there like you. And I also know that a lot of them, they don't want the credit for it. They're not doing it because they want to come on a podcast and talk about it. They're doing it because just like you, it makes you feel good and it's the right thing to do. But if you had any advice for those guys that are listening to this right now and would rather just kind of keep it to themselves and not really share about it, what would that advice be?
Where to even start? I'll try to make it short and simple. You know, the world, this is what I told my kids and what I tell them every day. Every day you wake up, there are people in the world trying to make it a worse place. Don't be one of those people. It's as simple as that. Be the guy that gets up and gives back every day. Be the guy that holds the door for someone. Be the guy that, you know, if you're in line somewhere and somebody's short on paying for their food or for their groceries, be that guy. You don't need, like you said, I don't do it for the accolades. I don't do it for attention. I could care less about all that. I do it because it makes me feel good, and I do it because I know it makes a difference in someone else's life. And when you do something for someone like that, they generally go out and they do the same thing. Instead of being short, instead of being rude to someone, they show that person compassion, kindness, and love. That's what we need every single day. So if you can do that, man, you're golden. Your life's perfect. You don't need anything else.
Well said, man. Well said. You know, it's free to be kind. That is something I try to remember every single day. It costs not one red cent to be a kind person, and it sounds like you've got that in spades. You're raising that up in your kids. And I can't thank you enough again for coming on here to talk to me about it. I want to know where we can find your foundation on Facebook, find the group, because on top of the fact that we might have some people out there that need help, we also might have some people out there that just want to go to a sausage party, man, and I get it. So I went to a ton of those in college, and there wasn't a wiener dog at one of them. So
no, these are way better than the ones that you went to. I promise you that. So,
I bet.
A lot of dogs, a lot of alcohol, and just a lot of good times. So if you're on Facebook, you can find us at ICT Dachshunds. That is ICT It is the airport code for Wichita.
Okay.
You could also find us under ICT Dachshund Races. That will clue you in to when our races are, where they take place. You can find us on YouTube under ICT Dachshunds. We've got some links on there and some videos. We've just really started trying to push that. We haven't been real good about putting stuff up, but there is some stuff up there from the past 5 years that we've been building these races. And you can always find us at our website at www.ict-dachshunds.org. And if you go on there, you can purchase our shirts, our hats, our decals, keychains, all of that good stuff. Or you can just click on the donation button and make a donation as well. We are nonprofit 100%. We do not take a single penny. None of that goes into my pocket. Everything we make off from all of our merchandise, off from all of our donations, off from all of our events, 100% of all that goes back into ICT Dachshunds to help us continue to keep doing what we're doing.
Awesome. Go check them out. ICT-Dachshunds.org, ICT Dachshunds on Facebook, and ICT Dachshunds on YouTube. Justin, I'm wanting to, if it's okay with you, send your website at the very least, and maybe even a link to the Facebook page to the people that put together our podcast website, and see if we can get those linked up there so that drivers that want to be involved or just want to check out what you've got going on can do that. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
you don't need to be a dachshund to be part of the group. If you just love wiener dogs, if they make you smile, if you just want to come in and check it out and see what we're all about, click to join. We'll get you added into the group, and we look forward to having you.
That's so cool, man. I love them. Wiener dogs, like I said, going to have a special place in my heart for my entire life. And, you know, I mentioned that I've moved on to corgis now. I've got, you know, another long and low dog. And there's 3 dogs that I was around in my childhood growing up, and it was wiener dogs and yellow labs. And then as I came into adulthood and got my own dogs, corgis. And what I figured out, Justin, is that a corgi is nothing but a lab trapped in a wiener dog's body. That's the whole thing right there. It's like, wiener dogs have that big personality. They're not as goofy as you'd think. They look kind of goofy, but they're very smart, and they're kind of calculating, and they do things to produce results. Corgis kind of have that lab affinity where it's like, look, they're smart and they might be manipulative, but really they just kind of want to goof around. And that's, I mean, it's been so cool. And knowing that somebody out there like yourself is saving dachshunds, man, you can come on this show anytime. Okay.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you having me, and you have a great day.
You too,
Justin. Spreading the love and the joy, and we'll keep enjoying that podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for the support, man. Really appreciate the time here. Be safe out there on the road, and give your family and all the dachshunds that you'll see in the next year the Liquid Trucking Podcast best, okay?
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Marcus.
Thank you, Justin. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Man, I will tell you right now, having 3 wiener dogs growing up, knowing that Justin is doing charitable work for wiener dogs, that was a tough one for me to get through. I'm not going to lie to you. There was a couple of times in that interview where the emotions were running over on this side of the microphone. Huge thanks to Justin Scott for coming on and talking about his foundation and all the other work that he does. Of course, check out the website, go to the Facebook page, and, even if you just go there and look at all the great things they do and want to give Justin props, do that. But reach out, get involved. There's another wiener dog here in the Liquid Trucking Podcast family that we need to shout out right now. My audio editor, often called Audio Ninja, Mike, for this show, who's listening to this right now, sitting in the vicinity of a 16-year-old dachshund he's getting up there in age. He's not getting around as well as he used to, but I'll tell you what, that little dude's a trooper, and he's been around for the entire life of this podcast, And, we do take some inspiration from that little guy. I know it. I know Mike does, and I do too, because when I see him over the shoulder of Mike's camera when we're in a video meeting, and I see him curled up and sleeping as hard as he's sleeping, man, I'll tell you, I get motivated to take a nap. Hats off to Justin, man. We love our wiener dogs on this show. We love our dogs on this show. It doesn't matter whether they're wiener-shaped or normal dog-shaped, sausage-shaped, whatever the case may be. I will tell you this, though. It was hard not to bring in the immature 20-something-year-old Marcus, because sausage party used to be a term that we would use in college all the time, because most of the parties we went to, there weren't any girls there. Or if there were, they left once we got there. So sausage party, if you didn't know what we were talking about there towards the end. But I'm going to make my way to one of these Wichita, Kansas sausage parties at some point in time and just sit in the middle of the sidewalk while wiener dogs walk around me. Sounds like a perfect day in my eyes. Thanks again to Justin. After we did the intro and then we had the interview with Justin, I got to thinking before starting this segment, I bet there's more. I bet there's more stories out there. I bet one quick Google search could find me more stories about truckers giving back. And lo and behold, found one. Actually, right down in the heart of L.A. Warp and Talon Logistics is the name of this company. And I do want to give Freight Waves all the credit for this article. Grace Sharkey wrote a fantastic article about these two companies, or this company, sorry. And I'm just going to go ahead and read you a little bit of an excerpt here. It says, wildfires in Los Angeles have left devastation in their path, displacing thousands of residents, destroying homes, and putting immense pressure on first responders. The transportation sector is now stepping up to provide critical aid. Warp, a logistics company specializing in middle-mile transportation, told FreightWaves in an email it is leveraging its capacity to support relief efforts. The company is partnered with Los Angeles Fire Department, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and local neighborhood organizations to ensure essential resources are delivered directly to first responders and displaced residents. Warp is currently asking shippers and companies that they work with to contribute much-needed items, including tampons, pads, baby food, water, phone chargers, pet food, and insulin. The company is offering free transportation and warehousing services for these donations, allowing donors to either drop off items at its downtown Los Angeles facility or arrange for a Warp truck to pick them up. If you're interested, donations can be sent to 1219 Wholesale Street, Los Angeles, California, 90021. Or you can coordinate them via phone. You can call them at 323-974-5003. Talon Logistics has also asked the industry to support its recent relief efforts in a LinkedIn post. The post says, quote, "We are organizing a donation drive to fill a container with essential supplies, which will be delivered to a nonprofit organization directly assisting those in need. These supplies will go to residents in shelters, first responders on the front lines, and law enforcement officers who are working day and night to keep the community safe," according to Geomar's Senior Director of Operations for Talon Logistics. Items being collected for the container include non-perishable food, personal hygiene products, first aid supplies, blankets, clothing, flashlights, and emergency essentials. If you're interested and you're in the neck of the woods, you can also drop off donations at Talon Logistics facility. That one's going to be at 14945 La Palma Drive in Chino, California, 91710. For those unable to deliver items, the company is offering pickup services to maximize participation. That's really cool. And finally, in addition to these corporate efforts, local Los Angeles organizations are also calling for the community support. Groups like the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, the Downtown Women's Center, and the California Community Foundation's Wildlife Relief Fund are actively seeking donations to support evacuees and rebuild affected neighborhoods. Thank you again to Grace Sharkey from Freight Waves for that phenomenal article there about people helping out, people giving back, and most specifically truckers giving back. We know you do it, okay? Like I said, I've talked to enough of you. I've got enough good relationships here. I know what you're up to, and I totally respect that maybe you didn't want to come on the podcast and talk about it, because that's not why you do it. You don't do it for the pat on the back. You do it for that nice, big, deep breath you get to take and that smile it puts on your face, and you look around your community, you feel better about it for what you've put in. So I get it, and I really appreciate Justin for coming on. It's always interesting when I ask a driver to come on, and it basically amounts to me saying, do you want to come on the podcast and pat yourself on the back for a while? I know that that's awkward, okay? I can't tell you enough how much I know that it's awkward, but understand that it's reasons like this that we do that I'll call you and ask you to pat yourself on the back for a little bit. We understand the value of what you're adding to your community and to the people in your lives, and if nothing else, we just want to show you off a little bit because, hey, we know how good of people work for this company. So appreciate Justin for taking part. And if any of you drivers are out there listening to this and it inspires you, let's talk about that in a few months. If this kickstarts your journey to giving back to your community and doing more volunteer work or charitable work, whatever the case may be, I want you to tell me that. Let's talk about it. Let's keep these stories moving. We're all living a life here. This thing, the podcast is pretty episodic. We're going to talk about one thing one week and the next thing the next week, but we can keep building these stories as we go through. And I always want to hear about the charitable work you guys do out there. So if you hear this, you're getting into it because of it. Maybe you hear it and you go, hey, I just missed the text message. I really would like to go on and talk about some of the work I do. Love to have you. Get in touch with me. podcast@liquidtrucking.com. This is a little bit of a shorter episode today. We didn't have as many interviews as we thought we were going to, and so the episode is a little bit truncated, but I kind of like that because it's this nice little capsule. You know that you can tune into episode 60, this one, and the whole thing's going to be about drivers giving back, and that's cool. I mean, a lot of times I get sidetracked, and I will go on a tangent with a capital T, and we didn't do that today, so I'm very happy about that. Very happy for all the dachshunds that are running around in their wheelchairs or rehabilitated thanks to Justin and his wife's work and foundation. And just can't say enough about how cool it is to hear these drivers and trucking companies kind of falling in line here and helping out with the wildfires down in California. It's devastating down there. Like I said earlier, we give California a lot of crap on this show, man, but all jokes aside right now, we are pulling for the people of Los Angeles and the greater state of California, and we just hope that you guys get all the help you need down there. And I would say if you do need help and there's a truck driver nearby, you might think about asking him. It's pretty high probability that dude's going to help you. We're going to wrap this episode up here. Episode 60 of the Liquid Trucking Podcast is in the books. Thank you all for being here today. Don't forget to go check out our website. Podcast@liquidtrucking.com is the email address. You can find the website at liquidtrucking.com. It's right there on the top of the page. That's it for me today. I'm going to bed. We'll see you guys next week with a very special episode. Next week's episode, we are going to feature a representative from Truckers Against Trafficking. Now, I've already sent out a text message to all you drivers. By the time you hear this, you will have had the text message for a while, but I'm looking for drivers that want to come on the podcast that are certified through Truckers Against Trafficking or have a story to tell about human trafficking that maybe you heard secondhand, you experienced it firsthand, maybe you helped save somebody. These are the stories we're looking for as we build an entire episode around the amazing efforts that Truckers Against Trafficking executes every single day. So that's next week. Really looking forward to it. Get in touch with me if you want to be on the show. I will see you around the bend. Keep the shiny side up. Stay safe out there, drivers. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for tuning in and being the gold standard of drivers on the road. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tune in next week for another episode of the Liquid Trucking Podcast.